this SQL Server is? SQL Server is a RDBMS product from Microsoft. Okay, RDBMS product from Microsoft. So use it to RDBMS product from Microsoft. Use it to create and to manage database. That's it. So in single line, SQL Server is a RDBMS product from Microsoft. Use it to create and to manage what database. Okay, then. So here, what is RDBMS stands for? Okay, RDBMS stands for relational. RDBMS stands for Relational Database Management System. Okay, Relational Database Management System. So from Microsoft, use it to create and to manage what database. If you want to create the database, if you want to maintain the database, then you use SQL Server software. SQL Server software is mainly for creating the database and managing the database. SQL Server software is for creating and managing what database. Okay, understood. Now, so this is RDBMS products. Okay, RDBMS products. Anything you take, suppose it is developed on some theoretical concept. Any software you take, that softwares will be developed based on some theoretical concept. Like you take Java, .NET, C#.NET, etc. They developed on theoretical. Java language is developed on theory. What the theory is? OOPS theory. You take Java language. Java language is developed on OOPS concept. Okay, then. So based on this OOPS concept, so they developed Java language. Okay, Java language. Similarly, so .NET, Java, all this developed on OOPS concept. Okay. Similarly, SQL Server is developed on RDBMS concept. SQL Server software is developed by RDBMS concept. Okay. Then, what is this RDBMS? What is this RDBMS? Okay, na? Then RDBMS. What is this RDBMS? And RDBMS concepts are introduced by a person called E.F. Carr, who introduced this RDBMS concept. RDBMS concepts are introduced by a person called E.F. Carr. He introduced RDBMS concept. So then, E.F. Carr is an employee of IBM. Okay, is an employee of IBM. So, like while working on some project, like he introduced RDBMS concept. Okay, na? So as a part of one project called System Art project. So for this project, he introduced RDBMS concept, Relational Database Management System. So actually, sir, in some years back, okay, na? So there are like other systems like HDBMS, NDBMS, some years back. HDBMS, NDBMS. What is HDBMS? Means hierarchical DBMS. NDBMS means network database. RDBMS means relational. So HDBMS means hierarchical, and NDBMS means network. RDBMS means relational. But these systems are complex systems. HDBMS is complex, NDBMS is complex. So then only less companies were used. And HDBMS, NDBMS were there, only less companies are used. Hierarchical network. But when RDBMS concepts are introduced, RDBMS is simplified the data storage and data processing, data accessing. Okay, now RDBMS is simplified the data storage and data processing, data accessing. But in HDBMS, storing and accessing is difficult. In DBMS, storing and accessing is difficult. But in RDBMS, storing and accessing is what? Easy. Okay. So RDBMS is simplified data storage and data accessing. That is the reason RDBMS is became popular. RDBMS is became popular. So this series became popular. When this series became popular, number of companies introduced what? RDBMS product. Understood? Number of companies introduced RDBMS product. Microsoft introduced SQL Server. Oracle is introduced Oracle. Next one, suppose IBM introduced DB2. Number of companies introduced their RDBMS product. Okay, and the number of companies started using RDBMS products. Okay, number of clients. Okay, then. But earlier, so these systems were complex, only less companies used databases. But when RDBMS introduced it into the market, so most of the companies started using databases. Most of the companies started using what? Databases. Okay, because of its simple concept. Okay, then. So according to RDBMS, okay, suppose here, then only simple thing. So in RDBMS, suppose here, then this is the database. This is the database. Suppose I'm using one system. What is that system I'm using? RDBMS. Okay, I'm using RDBMS. So if you use RDBMS, inside the database, data stored in the form of tables. In database, you store the data in the form of tables. Okay, then inside the database, you store the data in the form of what? Tables. Okay, then tables means that rows and columns. Tables means that rows and columns. So inside the database, you store in the form of tables. Okay, then. So like anything is stored in the form of tables in RDBMS. See, suppose here, not only storing the data is important, the data should be properly organized. If the data is not properly organized, accessing will be difficult. If the data is not properly organized, accessing is difficult. Like suppose you take library. In library, suppose there is one rack. So there is one rack. In that rack, I'll keep all the books. Computer science, electronics, electrical, mechanical, all books are kept in one rack. If all books are kept on one rack, then what is the problem is finding the particular book is difficult. Finding particular book is what? Difficult. So, but if you keep separate racks, one rack for computer science, one rack for electronics, one rack for electrical, one rack for mechanical. So if you keep separate racks, so then finding the particular book is what? Easy. Same thing, like however books are organized in library, same way the data organized in databases. However books are organized in library, so data organized in databases. So in library, data organized in the form of racks, but in databases, data organized in the form of what? Tables. Data organized in the form of tables. Like you want to store what? You want to store customer data. To store customer data, first create one customer table. So you store the customer data in customer table. You want to store products data. So you store the products data in products table. You want to store employees data. So create one employee table, store the employee data in employees table. So if you want to store the data, then what? You want to store the data. So create the table, inside the table, store the data. You got it? Understood? So like in RDBMS, data organized in the form of what? Tables. Okay. If you want to store something in database class, so first you need to create the table. You want to store customer data, first create one customer table, store the data. You want to store products data, first create one products table, store the data. Okay, then now, so anything you want to store, like, okay, create like tables. Okay, all this I given yesterday. I given the list, and all this list is what RDBMS softwares. Okay, like RDBMS what software. Okay, no? Then so like one is asking like, sir, what is database means? Like, what is the definition of database? Okay, what is the definition of database? Then so what is database means? A database is a organized collection of what interrelated data. So this is the definition of database. Database is an organized collection of interrelated data. So inside the database, you store the data, and the data is organized in the form of tables, and the data is interrelated. What is interrelated means? If you take, suppose, bank database, a bank database stores data related to bank customers, transactions, loans. You take university. A university database stores data related to students, courses, faculty. Okay, a e-commerce database stores data related to customers, orders, products. So every database stores interrelated data. A bank database doesn't store data related to university students. A university database doesn't store data related to bank customers. That is what interrelated means. Like for example, okay, for example, a university database stores data related to students, courses, faculty, etc. Okay, na? So this is what database is. What the definition of database? Okay, then actually, and the one thing is, earlier companies used only one database. Companies use only one database, but nowadays every company uses two databases. Every company uses two databases. What are the types of databases? Okay, what are the types of databases? Databases are mainly two types. Okay, one is called OLTP, another one is called OLAP. So there are two types of databases, OLTP and OLAP. Anyone knows what is OLTP stands for? What is OLTP stands for? Hmm? What is OLTP stands for? Anyone knows? Okay, then what is OLTP stands for? OLTP stands for online. OLTP stands for online transaction processing. Okay, OLTP stands for online transaction processing database. OLAP stands for what? OLAP stands for online analytical processing. OLTP stands for online transaction processing. OLAP stands for online analytical processing. Okay, then one is online transaction, another one online analytical processing. Okay, then so see, why companies are using two nowadays? Every company, almost all companies uses both databases. Okay, both databases. Then so now, uh, and what is this like? What is the difference? What is this OLTP? What is this OLAP? Sir, OLTP is used for day-to-day transactions. OLAP is used for analysis. OLTP is used for day-to-day transactions, and OLAP is used for analysis. Okay, you want to use database for day-to-day operations, then use OLTP. You want to use the database for analysis, use OLAP. Okay, then so one is for day-to-day transactions, day-to-day operations, another is for analysis. Because some years back companies focuses on only what day-to-day operations, storing the day-to-day operations. But nowadays every company focusing on day-to-day operations and also analysis, because there is a big competition in every industry. You take banking, there is a big competition in banking. So there is a big competition in insurance. There is a big competition in telecom. There is a big competition in e-commerce. So in every industry, there is a big competition. So that's why companies started using what the companies started analyzing the data. So based on the analysis, they take decisions. Okay, no? Uh, okay, then. So this is for OLTP is for running the business. OLAP is for to analyze the business. OLTP is used for running the business and OLAP is used for analyzing the business. So nowadays, not only running the business is important, analyzing the business is also important. Okay, so that is the reason. See, like industry introduced what some technologies. What that is Hadoop. Hadoop. Why Hadoop is introduced? Hadoop, Spark, Scala, next Power BI, Tableau. Okay, na? Data science. Why industry introduced these technologies? All these are what? All these are what? Hadoop, Spark, Scala, Power BI, Tableau, data science. All these are what? Okay, then all these are what tools for uh, tools used to analyze what data. Okay, na? That all these are for what? So that tools used to analyze frameworks or tools. You can say frameworks or you can say so tools for data analysis. So this comes under which category? OLAP. Okay, na? This comes under which category means OLAP. So analytical processing. By using this, you can do the data analysis. Understood? They are not used for this purpose. They are not used for this purpose. All these tools are used for this purpose. Analysis. Okay. Then tell me, what is SQL server? What is SQL server? SQL server comes under which category? SQL server comes under which category? OLTP or OLAP? Huh? SQL server comes under which category? SQL server. SQL server belongs to both. Using SQL server, we can store day-to-day transactions. Using SQL server, we can do the analysis. Using SQL server, we can store day-to-day transactions. Using SQL server, we can analyze the data. We can do the data analysis also using SQL server. Okay, na? Then. So, but when we can use SQL server for analysis, why industry introduced these tools? Okay, na? When we can analyze the data using SQL server, why industry introduced these tools? The reason is SQL server is best for analyzing structured data. These tools are good for analyzing unstructured data. SQL server is best for analyzing structured data, but these tools are good for analyzing unstructured data. Okay, that understood now? So don't think that SQL server we can't analyze. We can do the analysis using SQL server also. Okay, yeah. That's all. So like if you want, I'll write the points here. So organizations uses OLTP for storing day-to-day transactions and OLAP for analysis. Okay, then OLAP for analysis. Now next, so an OLTP is for running business and OLAP for analyzing business. Okay, OLTP is for running the business. Okay, then so analyzing the business. Okay, one is for running the business, another is for what? Analyzing the business. Okay, now that's all. This is what, sorry, OLTP and OLTP. Okay, I think you understood this. Okay, now then now. So, but SQL Server, using SQL Server, we can develop this database, we can develop this database. Using SQL Server, we can develop both OLTP and OLTP. Okay, but actually, but to operate these databases, we need a software. What that software is called? DBMS. Okay, na? DBMS. So, what is DBMS stands for? Okay, DBMS stands for Database Management System. DBMS stands for Database Management System. So what is DBMS? So it is a software used to, like, so before going to the actual course, if you know this terminology, so definitely it is good, because in like if you go to real time, if you go through some documents, you come across these words. Okay, now you come across this terminology. So if you don't understand this, then it is difficult for you to understand the what business requirements. Okay, so right. So it is a software. So DBMS is a software used to create and to manage what? Databases. Software used to create and to manage what? Databases. So in your system, if you want to create the database, if you want to work with the database, you need this software, DBMS software. So, okay, so tell me, what is database? What is DBMS? What is database? What is DBMS? So database is a what? Database is a, no. What is DBMS? What is database? Database is what? Collection of data. Database stores data. But to manage this database, to create this database, to manage the database, we need a software. That software is called DBMS. Sir, okay now? Then understood the difference? Don't confuse. So database is what? So database is a storage, store the data. But in your system, if you want to create the database, if you want to work with the database, we need a software. That software is DBMS. Okay, that. So they're mainly used to create and to work with the database. So then, like, and here actually, what is the evolution of DBMS? Evolution of DBMS. Okay, na? Evolution of DBMS. So around 1960s. Okay, so you know evolution means, you know, no? Evolution means, you know, evolution means step by step development. Okay, na? Evolution means step by step development. So you go and search evolution of telecommunication. Initially, what systems were used for communication? Next what? Next what? Next what? So that is evolution of telecommunication. Okay, na? So here evolution of DBMS. Initially, so very old, when computers are introduced in business, what is the system companies were used? FMS. FMS. 1970s, companies were used what? Like initially they were using FMS. Next they shifted to HDBMS. Next to NDBMS. 1980s, then RDBMS. 1990s, RDBMS over DBMS. So this is the evolution of DBMS. Step-by-step development of DBMS. So in the beginning, what systems were used? Next what, like this. What is FMS stands for? File Management System. File Management System. What is HDBMS stands for? HDBMS stands for Hierarchical DBMS. Okay, Hierarchical DBMS. What is NDBMS stands for? Network DBMS. Next, what is RDBMS stands for? Relational DBMS. What is RDBMS stands for? Object Relational DBMS. What is ODBMS stands for? Object Oriented DBMS. So hierarchical DBMS, network DBMS, relational DBMS, object relational, object oriented DBMS. So what are these? These are all different types of DBMS. Okay. So now tell me, what is SQL Server then? What is SQL Server? SQL Server comes under what? Okay. SQL Server is a software. What software? DBMS software. What type of DBMS? RDBMS software. Okay. SQL Server is what? SQL Server is a DBMS software. What type of DBMS? Basically RDBMS, and also support the features of RDBMS. Basically RDBMS support the features of RDBMS. So, and these systems are outdated. File management system is outdated. HDBMS is outdated. NDBMS is outdated. All these systems are outdated. No one using FMS now. No one using HDBMS. No one using NDBMS. Nowadays, every company uses what? Relational. And relational, object relational. That's all. So no company uses this. Every company, nowadays, every company uses this two only. So the database is relational or object relational. Okay, na? SQL Server is also basically RDBMS and support the features of RDBMS. Okay, na? Sir. So, like if I ask you, like suppose here, what is Java means? It is a language belongs to object oriented. Okay, na? Similarly, what is SQL Server? SQL Server is a software belongs to what? Belongs to RDBMS category. Okay, na? Then so RDBMS, what's it? So RDBMS, okay, then. So SQL Server is RDBMS software, and RDBMS concepts are introduced by EF card, and he introduced RDBMS. According to RDBMS, data must be organized in tables. Here in this, in first hierarchical, data organized in what? Tree structure. In NDBMS, data organized in nodes. They are not popular, okay, na? Then because they are complex systems. So when RDBMS is introduced, so it is simplified. Storage is simplified. Accessing is simplified. Okay, then. So, like if you want, like I'll just give something. We'll write some just one or two points about RDBMS. Okay, then. So RDBMS concepts introduced by EF card. RDBMS concepts introduced by EF card. Okay, then. So is introduced RDBMS based on some mathematics theory. Okay, then. Next, so according to EF card, in RDBMS, data must be according to EF card in RDBMS, according to EF card in RDBMS in database. In RDBMS in database, data must be organized in tables. That is rows and columns. Okay, according to EF card in RDBMS in database, data must be organized in tables. That is rows and columns. Okay, rows and columns. Yeah. So means something like this. Suppose if you want to store customers' data, like you have to create customer table like this. You store data like this. Inside the database, you store like this: customer ID, customer name, customer belongs to what the age of the customer, like this. Customer ID is something 10. Customer name is, suppose some name is Sachin, some age something 40, like this. Okay, then customer 11, something, suppose what, Vijay, suppose some 30, something customer 12, something Ravi, so age 25 something. So this is the, like what, you organize the data like this. Okay, you organize the data like this in RDBMS. So you store customer data, but customer data is stored like this, rows and columns. Okay, then tell me, what are this customer ID, name, age are called? What is this customer ID, name, age are called? This customer ID, name, age are called what? Like, sir, table, na? This is table, boss. Organized in tables, rows and columns. Okay, na? So this whole thing is table. I'm asking about what is this customer ID, name, age. They're called what? They're called columns. So this customer IG 8 call what? They're called columns, or you can say fields, or you can say attributes. That's why before going to the actual codes, this terminology is important. Because after going to the codes, if I say field means, you will be confused. What is field? So that's why if you have this clear idea before going to this course, then learning is easy. Okay, that. So this customer ID, name, age are called what? Columns or fields or attributes. What is this is called? This whole thing. So this is called columns. They are called columns. But what is this is called? This is called what? Row. This is called row, or this is called record, or this is called tuple. Okay, then because in my class I'll be using these codes, fields, records, that. So don't confuse. Fields, records means this is called record. Okay, this is called record. Record, row, tuples. You can call this as row, or you can call this as record, or you can call this as tuple. Okay, then. So in this table, how many rows are there? In this table, how many rows are there? How many rows? So 3 rows. Don't say 4. This first one is not row. First one is field names. First one contains column names. So first one is not row. How many rows are there? 3 rows. This is 1 row. This is 1 row. This is 1 row. 3 rows. And each row contains one customer data, customer details, one customer details. One row contains one customer details, and another row contains another customer details, and another row contains another customer details. In customer table, each row contains one customer's data. In customer table, each row contains one customer details. So his ID, his name, his age. His ID, his name, his age. Okay, na? Then. So one row gives one customer details. Okay, na? Sir, in bank also, suppose you got account in some bank. You got account in, suppose some SBI bank. Okay, na? You take India, SBI bank or something. So then your details are stored in one row in bank database. In bank database, there is a table called customer table. In customer table, your details are stored in one row. Your name, your account number, your name, your address, your phone number, your email ID, your Aadhaar card number, your PAN number, okay, your photograph, your signature. All the details are stored in single row. Okay, my details are stored in separate row. Your details are stored in separate row. Got it? No. So, like, and what is this is called? They're called values. Ravi is a value. 40 is a value. 30 is a value. 25 is a value. Sachin is a value. Okay, na? Then value. Values, field values. This is value for customer ID, value for customer name, what is the value for age. So 25 is the value for age, Ravi is the value for name, like this, field values. Okay, then, so what is database means? Now, what is according to EF card? So database is equal to, is a collection of tables. What is database contains? Tables. So what is table contains? A table equal to what? Okay, na? So database contains table, and table contains what? Rows and columns. What is a row equals to? Okay, na? Row equals to. Okay, database contains tables. A table contains rows and columns. What is row equal to? This is row. How you define this row? A row is collection of field values. Collection of field values. Value for ID, value for name, value for age. So this is collection of field values. Okay, next. What is column is? What is column? Column equal to collection of values assigned to one field. So database contains tables. Table contains rows and columns. A row contains field values. A column contains values assigned to one particular field. That's all. This is what the definition he has given. Okay, then. Okay, now then. So if you go to, suppose here, sir, if you go to, okay, then if you go to like real time, okay, na tables, okay, if you go to real time tables, like real time databases, okay, then real time databases, like suppose there is a project, Tata Motors maintains database. In the database, how many tables are there? 2000 tables are there. Okay, na? That database contains 2000 tables. Like this, how many tables are there? 2000 tables are there in the database. Okay, then. Okay, now then. So let's see. What are the examples for RDBMS softwares? Okay, what are the RDBMS softwares? What are the RDBMS softwares? Like all this comes under this category. What that is? SQL Server is RDBMS, Oracle is RDBMS, DB2 is RDBMS, MySQL is RDBMS, PostgreSQL is RDBMS. Yesterday also I shown RDS. RDS is Amazon. RDS is also RDBMS software. Yesterday I shown this. Okay, na? Then. So that's what actually problem is. See, one was asked enable everyone option. If I enable everyone option, you try to answer to, instead of listening the class, you try to answer to other questions. That is a problem with you. You leave it. What someone asks, you leave it. Okay, na? Listen the class. Your focus should be on this class and this one, not on chat box. If you get a doubt, then okay, you chat box. Okay, na? That's why we don't enable the everyone option. Because instead of listening the class, you try what one is asking, like, okay. And then if you answer to that questions, you will be missing this. Okay, then. So just ignore what someone is asking. Okay, na? Because I am there to answer. Okay, then if you get the doubt, open the chat box, then just query. Otherwise, close that chat box. Listen the class. Everything you'll get. What you have to do is you have to wait. That's all. Everything you'll get. All your doubts will be cleared. So you have to wait. Then, so all these are what RDBMS softwares, SQL Server. They're from different companies. Yesterday also I like given this. I discussed it. So SQL Server is from Microsoft. Oracle is from Oracle Corp. Okay. Then DB2 is from IBM. MySQL is from also Oracle Corp. PostgreSQL is from PostgreSQL Forum Development. Okay. Then RDS is from Amazon. So what are these? These are all what. So the different RDBMS softwares from different companies. Okay, na? Then, so how data stored in SQL Server? Tables, Oracle tables, DB2 tables, MySQL tables. All these tables are because they are RDBMS. In RDBMS, you store the data, organize the data in the form of tables. In all these also, you store and organize the data in the form of tables. Okay, na? Then, and all this belongs to one family. What that family is? RDBMS family. Okay, then, and all these are almost all same bus. Okay, then almost all same. So, suppose here, because all these softwares uses common language. What that common language is? SQL. SQL Server uses SQL language. Oracle uses SQL language. DB2 uses SQL language. MySQL uses SQL language. PostgreSQL uses SQL language. RDS uses SQL language. All these databases uses SQL language. So language is same, working is also same. If you know SQL Server, so then you can work with Oracle also. You can work with MySQL. You can work with PostgreSQL. So next, another company will introduce another RDBMS after some years. You can work with that one also. Okay, that. So if you know one database, you can work with other databases. Differences will be there, but the differences will be 15% differences, not like many. Only a few differences will be there. That to 15% differences will be there. So 85%, 80 to 85% same. Sir, development is same, sir. Okay, na? Development is same. So how you develop what? How you develop? How you develop a database using SQL Server? The same way you develop database using Oracle. The same way you develop database using this. Development is same. What the difference is? Difference will be there in administration. DBA. So administration will be different. Development is same. Okay, na? Database development is same. So database maintenance may be different from one to another. So maintenance may be different, but development is same. Okay. Yeah. Okay, na? Understood. So that's why, sir, learn only one RDBMS. Learn one technology here. Learn this one. Okay, na? Learn this one. Otherwise, learn this one. Anything you choose, learn one RDBMS. Don't learn multiple. No use. If you learn multiple, no use. Your time waste, money waste. Okay, na? Then instead of that, you can spend that time for learning other technologies. So suppose here, you know SQL Server already. Suppose you want to learn Oracle. So instead of learning Oracle, so you spend the time or money for other courses that will be useful to you instead of learning this one. Because after going to Oracle also, after 1 week, 10 days, then you feel that same thing is covered. Okay, na? Then same thing is covered. Same thing. You feel same thing. Whatever you learned in SQL Server, so same thing is repeated in Oracle. Okay, then. That's okay, guys. But what is this is like? What is this is like? There is one more. What is that is NoSQL. What is NoSQL? So this is MongoDB. Okay, MongoDB Cassandra. Okay, na? MongoDB Cassandra. So these two comes under NoSQL databases. Okay, then. So there are NoSQL also. There are number of databases are there. Okay. So Okay, no SQL databases. Okay. So Couchbase, this one, this is also no SQL database. Okay, then so like so all this what no SQL databases. Then so these are all MongoDB, Cassandra, okay, Amazon Dynamic DB, HBase. So all these are what no SQL databases. Okay, then okay, understood. Yeah. These are all what NoSQL databases. What the NoSQL databases means? Okay, then NoSQL means they don't use SQL language. So this is all. These are all one family. They use SQL language, but they don't use SQL language. They don't use tables. RDBMS uses tables, but they don't use tables. They store everything is stored in the form of documents, JSON document, NoSQL. So this languages uses SQL language. They store the data in the form of tables, but they don't use SQL language. They store everything stored in the form of JSON document, not tables. Java synchronous object notation. Sorry, JavaScript object notation. JSON stands for JavaScript object notation. Okay, they don't store in the data in the form of tables. RDBMS stored in the data form in the form of tables, but these databases they don't store data in the form of tables, so they're not RDBMS. So these databases are called NoSQL databases. They store the data in the form of JSON documents. Okay, then so in your course what you'll be learning is SQL Server. Okay, na? If time is there, if time permits, I'll give the basics of this. Okay, na? Then because if you know both SQL and no SQL databases, so definitely added advantage. If you know SQL, if you know NoSQL database, definitely it's added advantage for you. So if time is there, time permits, I'll cover this. I'll give the basics of MongoDB. Okay, then that's so learning these two will not be useful to you, but learning this and this will be definitely useful to you, because like one SQL, one no SQL. Okay, na? One SQL, one no SQL. That's okay. And next class we'll see the like what are the roles of the developers, what are the roles of admins. Okay, now after completing SQL Server, you can become developer or you can become DBA, database administrator. What are the roles of the developer? What are the roles of administrator? So we'll discuss that. And also after completing that, so we'll see where you have to download this software, what the step-by-step installation. We'll see that in the next class, where you have to download the softwares, what the step-by-step installation in the next class. Okay, na? So we'll do that in the next class. In the next class, we'll discuss about which software you have to download.